moment of your time, please, to celebrate my wonderful sister.
Oh my God.
Liv!
Thanks, bro.
Cheers, Liv.
When you come into the world with someone, everything you've ever seen, everything you've ever touched is with them by your side.
Listen, Liv, this is your night, okay? Have fun.
How am I gonna do it?
You just kind of gotta mingle and dance.
No. How am I ever gonna be away from you? And a world without them doesn't even seem possible.
To lose a twin must have been beyond difficult.
I can't be here alone. I can't be here without you.
You're never without me.
Have you been feeling particularly stressed or anxious this past year?
Are you on something?
You look sick. Did you eat?
Don't. I need that.
It would be nice to be able to talk to you.
I'm not really here to make you feel
What are you doing right now?
promised that we would die together, and I didn't.
That's not your fault.
That's your fault. I would never hurt you. I'll never leave you.
It's about control.
Go away, just for a little while.
Liv, that's not how it works. You have to do this, Liv. You promise me.
Do I not have the highest grades anymore? I will make it up. Please don't leave.
I'm so happy to have you back. We were saying backstage, Troian was here like 2 months ago. When was Pretty Little
Was
Liars?
it actually? It might have been even less than that. I don't know. It was so funny. I felt like I was like, I'm so glad that they want me back because I feel like I was just there.
And we were saying how when I had you on stage last time, I was grilling you about Pretty Little Liars in the finale, and now it's over, guys.
God.
So
Yeah, well, you were grilling me, and
done.
also I was like sweating bullets because I couldn't say anything. And every question you asked me about the ending, I was like, I'm really excited for people to see it. So now I feel like I'm like a whole new woman. I'm like, I'm free.
yeah, you were a big part of that ending.
Yeah,
Did you
that's
guys
what I
like
couldn't
the
talk
ending? Well, Pretty Little Liars is in the past, guys. We're moving on, but we'll always cherish the times that we
I
had.
know, right?
Yeah.
The best thing is you can revisit it as much as you want.
Exactly. And today we're talking This Bar Saves Lives
Yeah.
and Troian's new movie, Feed, but we're going to get to that a little later. Let's start with This Bar Saves Lives.
Yes,
You're
please.
very, very passionate about this.
I am.
Tell me why and how did you get involved?
Let's see. How did I get involved? My husband and I, Patrick, who was supposed to be here with me today, but he's kind of busy shooting a show.
Yeah, called Suits.
We were approached by our very dear friend Ryan Devlin after he went on a trip in 2013 to Libya, and he saw a lot of children that were suffering from severe acute malnutrition, which is a heartbreaking thing, but it's also 100% preventable. And so when he came back and he told us about this, he also mentioned that he and a couple of his other friends had a really good idea, which was what if we could create a nutritional bar that every time you bought a bar, it also bought a nutritional supplement bar for a child in need. So with every bar that you buy, you're also giving to somebody else to try to get them out of a life-threatening situation. And so the motto is really simple. It's buy a bar, feed a child, we eat together. And I'm really proud of it. It's been an incredible experience to be working with it and to be, I mean, so far to this day, we've sold 2.5 million bars, and that means 17,000 lives that we've brought back from a really dangerous place. So I'm really, really proud of it.
That deserves a round of applause. Guys.
Yeah, it's really
That's
cool.
awesome. Now, how long has This Bar Saves Lives been around? And
It was put together by the founders in 2013. So I think the bars have been around since then, but we're really excited because now, you can obviously buy the bar on thisbarsaveslives.com, but we're also on Amazon, or you can go to your local Targets, Starbucks, Whole Foods, and we're really, I always get so excited every time I show up in a place, like I walk into a Starbucks and there's a This Bar, I'm like, yes, who's buying this? Buy it. And so
Everybody
I buy like
buy
3
one.
of them. My house is full.
are there different flavors and what's your favorite?
Oh, yeah. Well, okay. I'm like a peanut butter girl. Anything with peanut, yeah, right? Like, you know what I'm talking about. It's like, if there is peanut butter in it, I'm all about it. So there's a peanut butter dark chocolate flavor that is amazing, but they're incredible. They're dairy-free, they're gluten-free, they're non-GMO, they're ethically sourced, and there's so many different flavors. There's like Madagascar vanilla and dark chocolate, cherry sea salt, and like wild pistachio blueberry. I mean, the best part about this is like, it's for a great cause. So if they tasted like cardboard, I would still be trying to get you guys to buy them. But the good thing is they don't taste like cardboard. They're actually really good. Yes. So see for yourself. Like next time you're in a Whole Foods, Starbucks, Target, try one out for yourself, because every bar that you try is gonna mean something to a life.
Yeah, and I'm sure, you know, as a public figure, it's probably really important to use your platform for good and to promote things that you're passionate about.
Yeah, it's really, I mean, I think it's really wonderful. I'm so grateful for the platform that I have, and it's great because you have lots of opportunities to work with many different brands, whether it's like a beauty product or, you know, a clothing company, and it's awesome. But when you get to work with a brand that you really believe in the work that they're doing and the good that they can create, it makes you feel, I don't know, it makes you feel like you're making a difference.
Are there any sort of events that This Bar Saves Lives has that you've been a part of that have really inspired you? And have you gone to see the effects that they're actually having?
I'm really hoping to go. I haven't been able to, because every single trip that they schedule to go to a country where This Bar Saves Lives has been working, and they're all over. It's incredible. You know, we've been donating. The meal nutrient bar that we work with is called a Plumpy Nut bar, which is also peanut butter, so I'm really excited. But you know, all over, we've been helping out in Nepal, in Guatemala, in Mexico, in South Sudan, Libya, Uganda, like the list goes on and on and on. And I'm really excited because even though while I was shooting Pretty Little Liars, I wasn't able to travel outside of the country to see the effects, but this year we just started a partnership with Feeding America. And I'm really excited because 1 in 8 Americans goes hungry and doesn't know where their next meal is coming from. So I think it's really important to help internationally and abroad, but we also need to help our neighbors. We also need to do work domestically. So from now until Labor Day, every bar that you guys buy at select Target stores or Starbucks locations will actually go to donating a meal to a food bank in your local community. So it's incredible. You can help people out abroad. You can help people out at home. It's just, I'm really, really proud, specifically of this domestic partnership as well.
Yeah. And I'm sure you and Patrick will get the chance, hopefully, to go to one of these countries and see the effects that This Bar Saves Lives has, because it seems like it could really be something powerful.
I really can't wait for the opportunity to go. So far, they've been so wonderful in sharing photographs that blow my mind. You know, children that are in such an extreme state from malnutrition that when you see after just 10 weeks of receiving these Plumpy Nut Bar nutrient supplements, which don't even replace their meals, like they can still eat at home, they can still, you know, like participate in their communities. It's not like they're taken out or affected in any way, but just from 10 weeks, they look like a healthy, thriving, happy, smiling child. Like, and so if just looking at the photos does what it does to me, I really can't wait to go see, you know, and meet people in person that it's really affected.
Yeah. And, you know, with your movie Feed, which we're going to run the trailer in a second, but clearly this is something that you're passionate about because you had talked openly about your own struggles, you know, with mental health and your eating disorder and things like that. So is that why a cause like this is really powerful for you to see the effects in another way?
Yeah, well, I think there's also like, I think it's really important to draw a distinction between a mental illness and something like severe acute malnutrition. You know, they're very, very different and very circumstantial. And like, I do think that a lot of people who have a misunderstanding of an eating disorder, they don't really put 2 and 2 together. They're like, well, how could you be at one point starving yourself when there's other people? You know, it's that whole thing like when you're at the dinner table and your parents are like, there are starving children in the world, like finish your dinner. And you're like, these 2 things have nothing to do with each other, really. And so I think it's really important for the work that I do with This Bar Saves Lives to support many different countries and many different children who are suffering in an entirely different way, and the mental health community that I'm a part of in my recovery at home here and abroad. But yeah. Sure.
All right, guys. Well, let's run that feed trailer so you guys can get a taste of what's to come. It's on iTunes, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Ladies, gentlemen, moment of your time, please, to celebrate my wonderful sister.
Oh my God.
Liv!
Thanks, bro.
Cheers, Liv.
When you come into the world with someone, everything you've ever seen, everything you've ever touched is with them by your side.
Listen, Liv, this is your night, okay? Have fun.
How am I gonna do it?
You just kind of gotta mingle and dance.
No. How am I ever gonna be away from you?
And a world without them doesn't even seem possible.
To lose a twin must have been beyond difficult.
I can't be here alone. I can't be here without you.
You're never without me.
Have you been feeling particularly stressed or anxious this past year?
Are you on something?
You look sick. Did you eat?
Don't. I need that.
It would be nice to be able to talk to you.
I'm not really here to make you feel
What are you doing right now?
Promised that we would die together, and I didn't.
That's not your fault.
That's your fault. I would never hurt you. I'll never leave you.
It's about control.
Go away just for a little while.
Liv, that's not how it works. You have to do this, Liv. You promise me.
Do I not have the highest grades anymore? I will make it up. Please don't leave. I just got like chills watching that again. I was like, oh my God, I want to go watch it again.
Like, is that weird for you to watch your own movie trailer? It's
You know,
cool.
I thought it was gonna be super weird, and then watching it, also it was like, it was really exciting because today also my dear friend Michael Schumann, who made all original beautiful music, just like, and it's out today on iTunes as well. So even listening to that song that he created for it, I was like, oh my God, the music and the images, it's so cool.
Well, I told you backstage, I am so incredibly impressed by you, and guys, she wrote this movie like 8 years ago or something.
Yeah,
like that.
yeah, it's been a long time in the works.
So talk about the process. When did you decide to sit down and write a script? What inspired you? Was it your own story, really?
It was really interesting because I had wanted for a while, at the point that I started to sit down to write Feed, I had been about 4 years into my recovery, and I'd gotten myself to a much healthier place in relationship to my disease. So I was starting to kind of look back at it, and I was still finding that even though I was, sort of undoing these habits and these compulsions, I still couldn't explain it fully to the people that I loved, to people who had watched me suffer through it and watched me and didn't really understand. And so I thought for a while, okay, well, maybe I could sort of create a film that would be about my time in treatment, and maybe I could talk about it that way, but I still felt like I don't know, I didn't want to just do something at face value. I didn't want to just, rip stories and experiences from my own life. And so one day I was driving around, and I was thinking about what it felt like for me to truly experience this disease when it was really affecting me at its worst. And I was like, okay, well, it's kind of tough to explain a voice in your head and why you would want to obey that voice, or why it could control you so frequently and so effectively. And I thought, well, what if that voice actually looked like somebody that you loved dearly? And what if that voice actually moved and sounded like somebody that you missed and that you wanted to hold on to? What would you do in order to keep that person in your life? And that was how the relationship of Matthew and Olivia, the Gray twins, kind of came to me, and I felt like that was my way in.
Yeah, it's so good. And guys, it's like a thriller as well. And of course, we had to get Draco Malfoy in there because it really adds to
the thing that I needed from Tom, which he does so well, is like, you have to fall in love with the character of Matt. He's got to be charming. He's got to be funny. You have to see what Olivia adores about her brother, so that then when he comes back and she's experiencing him in this new way, and it's cruel at times and demanding, you have to be able to stride both lines, you know? And I told Tom, I was like, you got to be able to play my brother and also a disease. And he was so good at, you know, flipping in and out of that, and even making me, in scenes that we were together, you know, want to be near him and then want to be, you know, like pushing me away. And it was really, he just nailed it. It was awesome.
It really is. When the movie first starts, he is that charming guy, and you fall in love with him, and you see how he brings out the best in you and how he helps you. And then I don't want to spoil it, but after he dies and you're seeing visions of him, it's like a totally different person.
Yeah.
Which is that voice in your head.
Mm-hmm.
With your own, you know, struggles, what was it like for you, especially being in an industry that's, you know, so hard on women and the way they look and the way they act? But was this before the whole Pretty Little Liars fame, where you struggled yourself?
Sorry, what was that?
Was it before the Pretty Little Liars kind of fame that you struggled with your own?
Yeah, I was diagnosed with anorexia nervosa pretty young. I was, I think I was 18 at the time. So I'd been kind of suffering quietly for about 2 years before that, before it got to the point where my family, which is kind of what Feed is about, is how do you notice those early warning signs, and how do you, when you're living with someone every day, you know, it's really easy when you see somebody very infrequently to see that their behavior might be different. For me, there was a significant, you know, physical transformation. I had lost a lot of weight, but for other people, you don't see that physical transformation, but you will notice and feel things about, you know, the way that they might make an excuse not to join you at a meal, or they will kind of behave in a way that might strike you as odd, but it's difficult when you are living with that person. So for siblings, for best friends, for parents, you notice something sort of changing in the person who's suffering, but you can't quite put your finger on it. Mm-hmm. So sometimes it takes a while for diagnosis, but early intervention is the best chance you can give somebody with an eating disorder for survival. So I really wanted to create a film that was kind of about those early warning signs and what you can look for and what you can see. And also, I kind of wanted to challenge people's idea of what an eating disorder was. I think a lot of people think it has to do with vanity or just wanting to be skinny, and there are lots of different reasons why people develop this mental illness. Particularly, this story is about grief and a traumatic event, but there can be so many different reasons that it manifests in somebody.
And is there a reason you wear contacts in this? You kind of change the way you look. Was that, I'm assuming, intentional to kind of take your own story and step out of it and jump into a different story for a different cause?
It was a big conversation between me and my best friend and director, Tommy Bertelson. You know, particularly between Tom Felton and I, who, like, coloring-wise couldn't be two more different people. But, you know, we talked about the fact that, like, we both had a similar bone structure, so what could we do coloring to sort of bring us into the same world? And ultimately, Tommy said that, you know, this thing, he was like, well, the eyes are the window to the soul, and they're twin souls. So I really need to find a way to make your eyes sort of mimic each other. And it was wonderful for me to put in the contacts every day, because it was just one more step outside of myself in order to bring this to life. Because I think I knew that there was going to be a lot of misconceptions, or people wondering, like, well, how much about this is her story and how much of this is her? And I just wanted to take another step out of it and say, like, this is a character. This is one person's, you know, entry point into an experience with this mental illness. This is not necessarily my own. Mm-hmm. So that helped me do that.
Yeah, when you wrote, were you making sure that, you know, you use your own story to influence your script, but you wanted it to feel different? Was that kind of like a cathartic experience for you, is to kind of get the words out, but in a way that was different than your own personal story?
Yeah, it was incredibly cathartic to write it. And looking back, it's interesting because now, you know, when I was writing it, I was sort of looking back at my experience, and now that Feed is out, I'm looking back at my experience of writing it, and I notice how in writing it, what I thought was cathartic at the time was also a way to keep me constantly engaged with my experience of my disease. It was a way to keep me talking about it and keep me experiencing it in different ways. And you know, recovery is it's a constant up and down. And I found that sometimes it really helped me to write this film, and sometimes it would get to the point where I was like, I can't work on this right now. I really got to walk away. It's not helping. It's not helping me move away from it. It's only bringing me in closer. And it was the same sort of experience when I was making it as well, you know, particularly through weight loss and through conversations with somebody who was manifesting some of the things that I had heard myself say, you know, to myself at some of the worst times. It was challenging, but I also knew that there was a time limit to it, and I knew that I had a really wonderful support system to help me extricate myself from it afterwards.
Yeah. Did you always know that you wanted to star in the movie, or was it kind of something that you struggled with, like, should I get another actress and just focus on being the writer, or I need this, I want to star in it?
You know, it was both. For a long time, I wanted to play Olivia, and I wrote it to play Olivia because it was just so much fun getting to imagine, you know, how I would say this. And that was like, I'm an actor first and foremost, so writing, really the only way that I could do it was imagining myself in the different roles. Like even Matt, just like putting myself in the character of Matt and saying like, what would I say at this point? How would I say it? So that when it came time to actually make the film, I remember having this sort of moment where I was like, oh, maybe I shouldn't. Maybe my whole role is just to create the script and help produce it and get it out there into the world, and I should have somebody else take this on. And Tommy, my director, kind of said, you know, I really think that an essential part of you putting this story out there is also you putting yourself in it, so that you can communicate to people not only, you know, the most difficult points of your journey, but also the success of it. Also the success of being able to move through recovery and return to something like this, and then also continue forward on a healthy path.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, the end has that hopeful feeling, but also that it's a constant battle. It's going to be something that you're battling through your life. Do you find that, you know, you mentioned that it comes in waves.
Yeah.
Do you find that constantly you're battling it, or is it just certain instances?
It's definitely, you know, I wouldn't say it's definitely not as strong as it was in one point of my life when it was, you know, the complete authority over me. But there's still an engagement with it, and it really gets stronger and gets weaker, and I have new experiences with it every day, which was the whole point of the ending. You know, I don't want to like give away any spoilers for somebody who hasn't seen it, but like, I don't want to put out the message that like, once you get treatment and recovery, it's like all better and you'll never think about it again. It's a constant struggle, and it's really important to engage in the conversation with other people. I just started speaking out to other members of my community that have also been struggling with this, and it's been wonderful to get to talk to them about, you know, their good days and their bad days and what it's like to choose to consistently work towards your recovery. Because in doing press for this film, there were a lot of different people who were like, okay, so as somebody who had an eating disorder, and I was like, had, that's funny. You know what I mean? But but you know, you can ask anybody who struggles with an addiction. It's like, you know, if you see that substance or, you know, that relationship come up again, it's going to be a challenge to you. And it's the same thing for somebody who at one point has had a very disordered relationship with food. What do? 3 times a day, we eat. So it's 3 times or more an opportunity for you to, you know, either choose to engage with food in a healthy way or slip back into old habits.
I think it's very powerful, this script, and it's very, very powerful that you actually released it and we're talking about mental health so openly, because I feel like people are sometimes afraid to do that. And we've seen with Feed and now To the Bone as well on Netflix.
Yeah.
I think it's very important that these stories are being told, so thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I think it's a challenging time, I think, for this community, because talking about it always brings up feelings, but I think it's also really important for us to be open in our conversations and not treat it as a taboo subject, because eating disorders are alienating. They are isolating, and they leave you to feel like nobody understands your experience and you're suffering alone. And that's actually how they're designed, to keep you in a place of pain. Like, you know that your disorder is screaming so loud when it tells you, like, you can't ever tell anybody about this because you'll never get out and nobody will understand you or help you. So I think the fact that we're talking about it and making it something that's, you know, making treatment not scary, but I don't know, a possibility for people. I think it's a really important conversation, as challenging as it might be.
I think we have time for a few audience questions before we say goodbye to Troy.
Cool.
Here we go.
Hiya.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you? I just want to know what was the most emotional scene for you to shoot in the movie?
The most emotional scene. There were probably a lot of them were very emotional. There were two that I would say that stand out. One would be the rooftop scene when Matt sort of asks Olivia, who's already had a traumatic experience with falling out of a tree in her youth, to stand on the ledge with him and to make a decision about the rest of her life. And it was a very frightening moment. It was a really wonderful scene to film with Tom because he really was supportive of me, but also pushed me in a direction that was really difficult. And then I would also say one of the last scenes in the psychiatrist, Dr. Rothstein's office, which is sort of the climax of the film. I'd say that that was a pretty difficult scene to film. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Who's next?
Hello.
Hello.
So I've been like waiting for this movie for a long time. I saw it, and it reminded me of when Spencer was in Radley, and that was like probably, I feel like, your best performances on Pretty like.
Thank you.
Anyway, so the scene I'm talking about in Feed, I think it's what you said.
Yeah.
How was it like to perform that scene? Because when Tom said "I hate you," that was when like everything broke for me. So I was wondering, how did you get in that mindset to perform that scene?
You know, honestly, I was already in a really fragile place because we shot that at the end of the experience. I had been also, you know, physically losing weight, so I was also physically exhausted and really, I didn't have a lot of energy. And also we had just shot the hospital sequences, which were also very intense, as you know. And I remember, as somebody who had been inpatient and had been in a hospital, when we were shooting those sequences, I kind of turned to my director, Tommy, and I said, I really don't like being here. It brings up a lot in me. I'm really scared. I don't know why I'm doing this. I'm experiencing a lot of things in the weight loss. And he was like, if you can help one person to get themselves into treatment and out of this situation, you know, hold on to that. So really what helped me was, instead of sort of retreating into my own experience, was thinking about what Olivia had to move through in order to walk back to health. And so when I walked in to do the scene and Matt was throwing all of these horrible things at me, and really we got to the point where he was just kind of repeating them. He was just going in, you know, that, and what he said in that moment of "I hate you." It really just hit me because here he was, the physical representation of the very thing that I loved at one point in my life, but also desperately needed to walk away from in order to have a life. So he really challenged me on that. And that was what got me through, was thinking about not my own recovery, but the recovery, the possibility of recovery for Olivia.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
And we have time for one more. Here we go.
Hey, Joanne.
Hey.
You've accomplished so much in film and business, and it's inspiring because so many female fans look up to you, whether they're women or young girls. So my question is, who's inspiring to you, women, as a woman leader, as a woman role model, and what advice do you have for girls or women younger than you who do look up to you?
Thank you for that question. It's a great question. And it's challenging, you know what I mean? Like, if somebody says to you, like, you're a role model, it's a lot of pressure, because you're like, wait, in what sense? And can I ever mess up? Can I ever like slip on a banana peel and like not look great?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's there are a lot of women that I think are so inspirational that I look up to. I mean, you know, particularly women in my career in acting that I think are just like wildly talented and inspirational. You know, I'm a huge fan of Cate Blanchett because of the work that she's done in theater and film, and, you know, in her own life and her family. So she's an inspiration for me as an actor. But then, you know, there are women like Natalie Portman, who runs her own production company, Reese Witherspoon. You know, these are fierce women that are like, you know, creating their own work and also acting in it. And then there's just incredible humanitarians. I ever since I was a teenager, I've just been like absolutely head over heels for like Angelina Jolie. And I just think that the work that she does in the world as a humanitarian is so inspiring. And I think it's proof that like you can, you know, look like the world's most beautiful alien. That you're like, how are you even a human? But you can, you know, you can consistently make your life not about you, but about reaching out to other people, about doing a good service. You know, she's been afforded a lot of wonderful things in life through her success, and she's turned that around and put it into communities all around the world to try to share that good fortune that she's had, and that's something that inspires me.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, you're inspiring for This Bar Saves Lives, your amazing work on Feed. Guys,
Thank
if you
you,
haven't
guys.
seen Feed, it's on iTunes and on demand, correct?
It is on iTunes and on demand, so check it out.
And go to Starbucks and buy This Bar Saves Lives, okay,
Yeah, I
guys?
promise you, it tastes amazing. I'm actually going to be eating them later today.
Thank you, Troian, for being here.
Thank
We
you
love
for having me. Thank you, guys. Thank you.